All right, it is the week of July 5th, 2022, and from Locus Magazine, I'm here to tell you about all of the new science fiction, fantasy, and horror books that are being published this week. We have 9 fantasy titles to tell you about, 5 science fiction titles, and 2 horror titles, all hitting shelves from various book publishers. Let's get at the fantasy titles. From Nikki, Erlick, we saw The Measure, published by Morrow, in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel and a debut novel, simultaneous with the UK edition from the Borough Press. Boxes appear outside people's doors with strings inside, the length of which shows how long the recipient will live. I've seen that commercial. It's for life insurance or something. Clearly, I didn't learn that lesson. The title is the Today Show's Read with Jenna book club pick, with forthcoming translations in 10 languages. The author has also appeared in New York Magazine, Newsweek, Cosmopolitan, Harper's Bazaar, The Huffington Post, Literary Hub, Indigar Travel, Booktrib, and Vox Media. From Lucinda Roy, we saw Flying the Coop, published by Tor in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a futuristic fantasy novel, second in the Dreambird Chronicles. From Publishers Weekly, Roy packs a punch with this heart-wrenching sequel to The Freedom Race, set in a dystopian, near-future America that has reinstituted slavery. Gigi Salapu has made it to the free Dream City. It's both exactly and nothing like she fantasized about back on Planting 437. To get there, she faked her own death, and now she relies on her friends, Tiro and Afara, together with mentors, coaches, and trusted leaders of the abolition group Friends of Freedom, to keep herself hidden. Gigi and Afara adjust both to their new home and to Gigi's newly sprouted wings in relative secrecy. But the more time they spend in Dream City facing setbacks and disappointments, the more they realize that freedom isn't just a place, it's a movement, a process, and a story. From Amy Noelle Parks, we saw Leah and Beckett's Abracadabra, published by Amulet in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult fantasy romance novel about teens from rival families of stage magicians who enter a competition and fall in love. From Kirkus, 17-year-old Leah Sawyer has just dumped her latest short-lived boyfriend when her eccentric grandma Matilda, who has been missing. I hope everybody has an eccentric grandma. They're just the best. Anyway, her eccentric grandma Matilda invites her and her older sister Emma to compete in a summer-long contest in Mirror Lake, Wisconsin, a lakefront resort town known for its magic shows and as the headquarters of the Society of American Conjurers. Her first day there, Leah has a meet-cute with Beckett Blackwell, the handsome college-bound graduate of Henry Blackwell, a legendary local magician who's also Matilda's first husband and former stage partner. Despite their instant chemistry, the two must balance their attraction with their individual desires to win. Lumping this one in with fantasy, we saw Acts of Violet from author Margarita Montemor from Flatiron in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a novel about a famous stage magician who disappears, but her sister and fans can't let her go as the 10th anniversary of her disappearance nears. Kirkus said this: Montemor has written a layered story told in fragments of documentaries, emails, podcast transcripts, and narrated segments that jump through time, place, and voice. It's a whirlwind of information and characters, much like a magic show, with smoke, mirrors, and misdirection consuming the viewer's attention before the final big reveal. The author also wrote the national bestseller, Una Out of Order. Next up, science fiction. From longtime professional writer Robert Silverberg, we saw Among Strangers from Subterranean Press in hardcover and audio. This is an omnibus of 3 novels and 1 novella of First Contact, Those Who Watch, The Man in the Maze, Tom O'Bedlam, and The Way to Spook City. Silverberg provides new introductions to each. A signed limited edition of 250 copies was also printed and apparently sold out already. From editors Alana, Joli, Abbott, and Julia Rios, we saw Bridge to Elsewhere from Outland Entertainment in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is an original science fiction anthology. Publishers Weekly described it like this: from jaunts with spacefaring felines to deeply thought-provoking explorations of what it means to be human. The 19 stories in this delightful space opera anthology imagine a universe in which anything is possible as long as there's a ship and crew to make it happen. From Bain and Timothy Zahn, we saw The Icarus Plot, a space opera SF novel in hardcover, ebook, and audio, and it's a sequel. Warped Factor described it like this: like the first book, The Icarus Plot is a story of an interstellar underworld borrowing heavily from crime fiction. You can imagine every dimly lit taverno brought to the big screen and every combat scene playing out right in front of you. A few horror titles up next. From author Eva V. Gibson and publisher Underlined, we saw Frightmares in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult horror novel, and Kirkus said this: Recent high school graduate Dave is resigned to spending the summer working at the Frightmare House of Horrors in Orlando. The haunted house has been on its last legs for some time, making do with shoddy prep work and improvisation. After one spectacularly awful day, many of his coworkers quit, forcing Dave to step into an unfamiliar role. But when the body of a dead girl is substituted for a mannequin, the job becomes far from boring. Another horror title from HarperCollins Morrow and Paul Tremblay, we saw The Pallbearers Club in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a psychological horror novel with some dark humor. Art tries to write a memoir of his past and the funeral-attending club he started back in his small-town high school in the 80s. Booklist gave it a starred review and said, in his brilliant new novel, Tremblay takes on the well-mined small-town coming-of-age horror trope, transforming it into something so original it elevates the entire genre. Sarah Langan, author of Good Neighbors, said The Pallbearers Club is Tremblay at his most audacious best. It's such a sneaky mind blower. It'll burrow deep inside you, and by the end you'll be wondering if the room you're sitting in, people you're talking with, or even your own memory are real. This book is horror's answer to Nabokov's Pale Fire. Finally, we'll move fast from here. We saw from Kensington and author Daryl Wood Gerber the title A Hint of Mischief in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is the third in the Fairy Garden series featuring Courtney Kelly, who has a real fairy in her fairy garden store. From Solaris US and author Zabé Ellor, we saw Silk Fire in hardcover, ebook, and audio, a science fantasy novel where a god gives magic powers to an aristocrat's son. From Archbeetle Press and Dan Freeman, we saw The Minister of Chance in ebook and audio, a debut novel, science fiction from a UK author who writes and directs audio dramas, including BBC radio plays. From publisher And Other Stories and James Greer, we saw Bad Eminence in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel about a translator who stops working on a thriller to take on a more prestigious book, only to have the first project fight back. From Aconite and author David Manna, we saw Descent, Legends of the Dark, The Raiders of Bloodwood, a tie-in novel in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. From Clarion and Sonia Mara, we saw The Darkening in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult fantasy novel, the first in a duology. From Humble Hogs Press and Carnegie Olson, we saw Empire and Oracle in ebook and audio. This is a SF time travel novel, the second in the Time Crime series. Mr. Z, a scholar of mythology, and his protege, Vixie Velour, have a second career as time detectives. From editors James Chambers and Carol Gazander, we saw Even in the Grave, out from Neo Paradoxa in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is an original anthology of ghost stories. What else? That's what's coming out this week, but we'd also like to tell you about a recent book we reviewed in Locus, in case you missed it. The title is El Porvenir Ya, edited by Scott Russell Duncan, Armando Rendon, and Jenny Irizarry. The publisher is Somos en Escrito Literary Foundation Press, and it was out in paperback in May 2022. Locus reviewer Gabino Iglesias said the title offers readers a surprisingly comprehensive look at what contemporary Mexican-American science fiction has to offer. With a mix of up-and-coming writers and seasoned veterans of the genre, this anthology celebrates diversity while also showing that Mexican-American science fiction is exactly what people think it is, the complete opposite of that, and everything in between. While Hogan's and a few others, Maria Acevedo and Rios de la Luz, for example, center identity in the way the anthology's title would suggest, others focus on different elements, and the Mexican-American identity is nothing more than either a small element or simply what the writers are. A good example, and one of the book's most entertaining stories, is The Facsimile War by Pedro Iniguez. Like many other stories here, it has humanity out in space conquering, or at least trying to conquer, other planets as humanity expands across galaxies known and unknown. The story features people who are killed and travel across space as data only to be rebirthed somewhere else, just so they can fight a war with the creatures that already inhabit the planet. Reverse colonialism, anyone? It has the feeling of a classic science fiction story. Ages ago, 6th-generation ships departed Earth, dispersing across the galaxy on a mission to discover and colonize new worlds. But Iniguez focuses on celebrating the genre's possibilities, its emphasis on imagination, and how fun it can be when allowed to be pulpy. So that's all the books we thought to tell you about this week. Do us a favor. Next time you visit the alternate Earth, you know, the one where people have 3 eyes, or the one where they say everything backwards, you just make sure that you tell them to like and subscribe to this Locus Mag situation that we're trying to do here. I mean, maybe that would be Eckel and Ebiscurbus? Ebicurspus. I trust you'll work it out. you probably know your way around the alternate Earth better than I do. My passport to the other dimension is expired, and I'm having a hard time working out where to mail it to get it renewed. And if you'd like to know more about Locus Magazine, we cover SF, fantasy, horror, and YA books that are coming out. We do monthly book reviews, commentary columns by people like Cory Doctorow. We cover books written in English and books translated into English. We list all of the forthcoming titles from publishers, so you know months in advance what's about to come down the pipeline. We interview authors, talk to artists, we report on writers' workshops and conventions, and the magazine has been doing that sort of stuff since 1968. Our readers include librarians, booksellers, professional writers, and serious readers, people who like to know about what's going on in publishing and what's about to happen next. Locus is available in a digital edition, or you can donate to what we do via our Patreon or direct donation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Come back and see us again soon, and we'll be here next week with more new books.